Hey everybody, it's Ian. It's time for another episode of Native Film Talk. I bet you wouldn't suspect that you get another episode, but here we are. Today, we're going to talk about why I stopped the podcast. I've messaged some of you all before about why I stopped the podcast, but I've never made an episode, so I just want to take a moment. With all of the great content that's been coming out, Rezball, Killers of the Flower Moon, Dark Winds. Where have you been, Ian? Where have you been? Well, I'll tell you. I've been stewing over the fact that I didn't want to be the negative person. When Lily Gladstone got nominated for Best Actress in Killers of the Flower Moon, I didn't want to be that one to be like, I don't really think, I don't see it. I don't think this is it. You should have watched her role in Fancy Dance. That, to me, was a worthy performance of a nomination for an award, but I didn't want to be the one to go on and poo-poo on everyone's parade. Everyone loved it. And she was good in Killers of the Flower Moon, but Killers of the Flower Moon itself, I did not enjoy. The native characters that excelled in it were just snuffed out completely. The characters that were brought to life by Cara Jade Myers, that were brought to life by Tatanka Means, completely snuffed out and not talked about. And that just boggled my mind because their roles were so important, so impactful. And you go to Rezball. That is one that just infuriated me because the first, let's say 15 minutes of the film was awesome. It was so good. And then it just fell off a freaking Hallmark cliff. And it just infuriated me that it had so much potential and it just fell so flat. But I go on social media, so many natives love it. So many natives want to talk about it and rave about it. And who am I to be that one that comes out, well, actually, I didn't think it was a very good movie. I didn't want to be that person. And there's just nothing good right now. There's stuff to get excited about. There's that movie, it's a documentary nominated right now for, oh my gosh, Sun, what is it? I was just looking at it. Sugarcane. I don't know why I said Sun. Sugarcane looks exciting. It's a documentary, but it's sad. It's super sad. It's probably badass. Probably tells a compelling story and informs people, which is what documentaries should do. But man, it's sad. And then same thing with Night Detective. True Detective. Season 4, you're like, man, this is awesome. We can get excited about it. But once again, sad. It's about solving murders of indigenous people. And then you go and look at there's Rezball. It's a shining beacon to talk about. And it's just like, bro, it was all right. Basketball was all right. I don't know why you just erased a Navajo town off the map, but still referenced Navajo towns all around it. And it just, I didn't know what that was about. It felt like part way through making the movie, the producers, the non-native people involved in the film were like, you got to put more native stuff in there. You got to make it, put some language in there. Add some language stuff in there. And they go, we got to get back to the old ways. And I'm just like, oh, God. I just was sitting there and I didn't like it. And once again, though, why? I didn't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy that, everyone, Rezball, we finally got a basketball movie. Yeah, all right, everyone, let's get excited. We finally got a basketball movie. And then I'm just over there it was all right. At best, it was all right. Forcing the Navajo language use on the audience just was ridiculous to me. There was no reason for it to be in the movie. It drove the point. It drove the plot for 5-10 minutes of the movie, and then it just died. There was no point of it other than just I don't know, cultural potpourri. It was just there to set the mood. It didn't advance anything. It just bothered me so much. And I don't know what this is of, there's a lot of Navajo love out there, Dark Winds and Rezball, and I appreciate that, but there's where are the Navajo actors in this? I've said it over and over again. If you have somebody speaking the language of a tribe that they do not represent, that's a problem for me. It is a problem. But we just all over the place. We just keep doing it. Not a big deal. Only thing I can get excited about over the past couple of years that is a fry bread face in me, and even then that just had like Napoleon Dynamite vibes, where it was just almost like a play basically, and it was good. I mean, it was all right. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it either. There was some stuff to get excited about in there. Those new faces, but I didn't. But that's about it. The one that I absolutely loved that will not get talked about because it's not available. It's an independent film. It's like only available on Apple TV Plus, I think, is Fancy Dance. Fancy Dance is one I will stand on my soapbox and talk about all day long. Fancy Dance is awesome, but why make an episode about a movie that nobody is going to go watch? That's what is infuriating to me. It is infuriating to know that the best native content being made right now is on the independent circuit, is on a film festival circuit somewhere that nobody is going to watch probably when it comes out, unless it ends up on a main streaming service. And you know what ends up on a main streaming service is Taylor Sheridan's like 1883, 1923, like all that ends up there. Yellowstone content end up on the main streaming services. And let's talk about Yellowstone real quick. I loved the ending to Yellowstone because of how mad it made everybody. How mad it made the hardcore Yellowstone Sheridan-verse fans. That just, there's a few things in this world that just fill my heart with joy. Two of them being my kids, the other my wife. But man, that just, it made me feel so happy to see the end where the land is given back to the... If you watch... Spoiler alert, sorry. The ending is the Dutton family gives the land back to the natives. But it was foretold back in the day. It was told that in 1883 that the Dutton family would give the land back to the natives. So if you paid attention to the show... And this isn't a surprise. But it just, the fans just woke DEI meetings, just the libtards and the left, just having their rage tornado over there over the ending of a fictional show. But I get it. It fit a narrative for them for a long time, and it had painted a picture, and it had a certain tone to it. So I'm sure they had a different ending in mind. But just the outrage was stuff of legend, and that made me feel good. It made me feel good inside. And in that moment, I like being a contrarian. I just do sometimes. It's fun. It's fun to be a contrarian. You know that. If everybody is going one direction, having a blast, you just want to go, man, it's hard for me to like it just because of that. And I wondered if that is, did I fall prey to my default of being a contrarian? With all of this love going around with Rezball, do I just not want to like it because it's a thing that's popular right now? Same thing with Lily Gladstone being nominated. That in itself, that would have been badass. Just for the achievement alone. There is a history, a well-known history of people that get nominated and win Academy Awards they overshadow better performances. And it was it was the year, though, that you were going to force a native person into that category and then that could potentially win. Because when she won the Golden Globe, I figured that was it. I had a good feeling that she was not going to win the Academy Award. I didn't know it was going to go to Emma Stone, but regardless, it's a whole other conversation. But Killers of the Flower Moon, another one of those. It really made me think, am I just being a contrarian, or do I really not enjoy it? And it's just because of the source material of this story. The tone of this story. It's just more natives dying. Look at these poor Indians. There was no ending that left me feeling like stuff is resolved, that there's a better outlook on life. It's just, man, look at the plight of these Indians. It must really suck to be one of them. The fact that they're still around is a miracle. Look at all the shit that happened to them. That was the story to me. and Leo DiCaprio's character in that was just deplorable, and he did such a good job in that. And but it's like, I don't know, why make that movie? What is the purpose of the movie? I mean, to tell a story that needs to be told, and that's the purpose. And it's just like, ugh, why that one? Tell it from the other lens. Like, they did it briefly before Lily Gladstone got like drugged basically and like was absent for the half of the movie. And that's the other thing that bothered me. If you're gonna give Lily Gladstone an Academy Award nomination, have her be in the whole movie. You had her at the very beginning, you know, when DiCaprio was like, "Is that Indian or handsome devil?" Just like chuckling to himself in the damn driver's seat when he's hitting on Lily Gladstone, and then he starts to figure out, like, hey, I can take advantage of these people through Robert De Niro's character. And then she's gone. Once they start drugging her, like, she's gone for the whole film until the very end. But it goes by how you're billed in the casting, and so she got nominated for Best Actress, and I mean, good for her. I truly believe she is an actor that will get a nomination again, and she will win someday. But this just wasn't it. This was like force-fitting it. And I worry that politics is going to bite us down the road sometime. That's just me. I don't know all of the political jockeying that occurs in the Academy Awards, but this feels like one that, hey, Indians, hey, natives, you got your shot for a while. So this next one has to be really fucking good for you to even be nominated. And even then, you need to not be bumping somebody who has been deserved for a long time, or it can't be at the same time as somebody's transcendent role occurs. So you better hope there's no Lupita Nyong'o 12 Years a Slave that just comes out that year, because whoever that person is, they're not going to win. Actor or actress category. So that's where I've been with this podcast. I've taken a break because I just can't figure out where my voice is in this. I did not want to be the person that just comes on and poo-poos on everything that's coming out. But there's very few stuff that I can like not do that. I'm not a contrarian in the sense that when something is excellent, I'll call a spade a spade. When Reservation Dogs was out, when Rutherford Falls was out, I wasn't riding the bandwagon. I jumped on those trains because they were freaking phenomenal. They were amazing pieces of work that should have been talked about and were lauded because they were excellent pieces of work. What's out there right now is not that great. And it's infuriating to me to get to a point in this podcast where I'm like, great, there's so much content now that I can talk about a bunch of great stuff. And it's like Resident Alien finished. Reservation Dogs finished. Rutherford Falls finished. And I'm like, oh boy, there's going to be plenty of great stuff for me to talk about. And there isn't. And that in itself just got me frustrated because I thought I reached the end of the purpose of this podcast, because the whole purpose of this podcast was to bring about awareness about Native representation, what positive representation looks like, what negative representation looks like, who should be driving the storytelling and the narrative with representation. And when we get there and it's done. And that was very simple for me to look at it that way. And it's very immature to look at it that way as well, because that's not the truth. That's not the truth. It's always evolving, and there is no foundation that you set for yourself of like, once you've established what good is, you don't stay there forever. And that's my mistake. That's my naivety as I don't know, you could call it a critic, but thinking that the baseline is now going to be Reservation Dogs, Rutherford Falls, like we're going to stay in that realm and we're just going to continue to push the rock forward and it's going to be phenomenal. I didn't think we would continue to climb, but I thought there'd be more content that Reservation Dogs and Rutherford Falls that was just good, and now it's not. And I don't know what to say about that. There's stuff that's out there that natives are in, but there's nothing being driven by natives outside of what I just mentioned. Sugarcane, that seems awesome. I'm excited to see that, but once again, sad. But I feel like that's what is being bankrolled. Sad. Let's look at these sad Indians. Let's look at these sad natives. Let's tell these stories that need to be told, which is sad stories. We don't have a Taika Waititi that is boys with Sterling Harjo and is like, yo, if I gave you the reins to a show, could you just like knock it out of the park and make something fun and funny? Hell yeah, I'll do that. And Sterling Harjo did his job by making something phenomenal. He uplifted so many people with him, and they all have opportunities to do great things. And it just kills me, bro. Like, there's nothing great out there to talk about. So that's where I am with this whole podcast right now. I thought I was past the point of going backwards looking, because I'm like, hey, we got so much to talk about now. But there's just I don't want to go talk about some of this shit. I don't want to watch this stuff. I don't want to watch 1883. I don't want to watch 1923 and talk about that. I don't want to watch American Primeval. Like, none of this is entertaining to me. You know what's going to happen is I'm going to watch this and I'm going to crap all over it. And I'm going to try to find some things that are good, and then I'm just going to fixate on those things. And then the episode is going to be about me not liking it. And after a while, I'm just like, do I want to go do that? Do people want to, more importantly, do people want to listen to that? And I need to find that divide for myself of like making stuff I want to make, and then the people will not give the people what they want, but are people actually listening to that? Is that worth making? And there's a piece of content creation that's like, hey, just make content and the people will follow or not follow, and that's up to them. But that's not how my mind operates. So that might be a detriment to the show and a detriment to my success in the podcast world. But gosh, it's so frustrating. I do want to go back and make episodes, though. Like Fried Bread Facing Me, that'd be one to talk about. I'd be interested to talk about that. Like, that was all right. I would be interested in going back to doing a Rezball episode and maybe like having a friend who played basketball, like maybe at a high school or collegiate level, just to talk about their journey. But then that's where my other show idea came about. And if you've been following me on social media, you're aware of this. And if not, this is news. But I thought about making another podcast just about interviewing Native people and talking about their story. And that's it. A very basic show, natives talking about natives in the real world. The thought was to talk about the dichotomy of being a native person living in native communities, like being someone in your community while also being somebody in society, and just talking about how that clashes and how it intertwines, the beauty and the horror of those two, trying to find, like, who am I? Because unless you're living on the res in your community, like, it's a fight to figure out, like, who am I? Where do I fit in this world? Especially if you're not around any of your people. You definitely do sometimes wonder, like, what do people see me as? What do I see myself as? And that's the thoughts of an urban native right now. I'm a res kid for sure. Born and raised, Tuba City, Arizona, K through 12. Family's still all there. But I'm a city native now. I'm an urban native. My kids are urban natives. So I was thinking about the podcast from that lens. What would I want those kids and people just in general to understand? And it wouldn't just be urban natives only. It'd be natives across the board, from all across, all 550 plus tribes, just anybody. And I was thinking about that too. Is that even worth going down? I don't know. But I did know for a fact that I did not make this episode yet. Talk about why I took a pause on the show. I still want to do this podcast. I have fun doing it when I'm recording. When I actually hit record and I'm in the moment and I have a microphone in front of me, I'm talking about representation in film and television. It's fun. And for a long time, I used my kids as a crutch as to why I didn't do it, and that's not the truth. I was just lazy. When I really took a accountability mirror to myself, Why is this not getting done, Ian? Well, because you're lazy. That's it, basically. And the laziness stemmed from not having a purpose that I was excited about for the show. Because I didn't. When I look at the shows on Netflix that I can go watch, I do not want to watch American Primeval. It just does not look entertaining. I do not want to go watch Dark Winds Season 2, Dark Winds Season 3. I do not want to go watch really anything. I mean, that other than True Detective Season 4, there isn't really a whole lot that I'm like itching to go watch. Under the Bridge. Like, I know Lily Gladstone's killed it in that show. She was nominated for a SAG award, and it has like 86, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. People love it. But it's like, it's a drama about murders. And I'm just like, I don't want to watch that. Even if she's not playing a native person and she's just a person in the world, like, I don't want to watch that. Same thing with Sugarcane. The title of this: an investigation into abuse and missing children at Indian residential schools sparks a reckoning on the nearby Sugarcane Reserve. Once again, it's probably phenomenal, but I don't want to watch that. That's real life to my family. Why do I want to watch all this sadness that I'm aware of already again? But I think part of that says more about me than it does about the state of the film world, frankly. And all of that is why I stopped. I stopped because I felt like I was too much of a pessimist with everything that was coming out. There was a lot of positivity in the community, the overall Indian country, around stuff coming out. Like Echo. I loved Echo, but nobody watched it. That's one of my least watched and listened episodes. That frustrated me because I loved Echo. Echo pushed the envelope on representation in so many different areas, but nobody watched it. And I don't know if that says something about misogyny. That's a whole other thing on, like, I don't know, people with disabilities. I don't know what that says about, like, the appetite for that. People want that, but then when it comes out, they don't watch it. Alakwa Cox was phenomenal in Echo. But even the hardest core Marvel people, they don't watch it. It's just like, well, what the hell is the point? So then I was thinking about potentially just going back to the back catalog to my list of like 200 movies and just watching old shit. I had never reviewed Dances with Wolves, and that shit's always on now for whatever reason. So it's like, well, I'll just go to review that. But what's the point of, once again, no one? I shouldn't say no one. Like, people watch that now, so why not? I think there's just people. There's just like media out there that's just not exciting to me. That is why I thought about pivoting and going in a different direction with another show. And I can still do this show. And then talking to my wife, I think we realized you can still do another show, but just do it under the vein of this show and just have more interviews. And the interviews are great. Just want to talk to somebody about what's going on in the film industry. Talk to somebody about what they do. Like I said, bring maybe discussing Rezball with somebody who played college, played high school. That'd be great. So that's where things are. Short and sweet. If there are any questions, send it to me to Native Film Talk, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you get your podcast. Yeah, so I just was sitting on this episode for a long time. I don't know, man. I don't know. It just doesn't, in general, shit doesn't look that good. But you got some stuff to be excited about. Like Leonard Peltier got now he's on house arrest instead of finishing his life in his jail cell. This movie Sugarcane getting a lot of positive acclaim. There's stuff that I don't have access to that is going to be, it seems like, is going to be great. There's a show that On Alam has out. What the heck was this one called? North of North. That one looks great. I don't have access to it, but it looks great. But there's just nothing really out there right now that makes me sit up in my chair like, oh boy, that looks fantastic. So I even debated, and I think I'm going to do this. I'm pretty committed to it. It's just finishing out my episode by episode of season 2 of Res Dogs, because I never did that. Maybe, who knows, maybe that will reinvigorate me to finish or start and finish season 3 too, because I did season 3 with a group of the guys on a different show by Patrick. Patrick is Navajo on YouTube. We ended up doing that together, and that was fun. That was a blast. So maybe I'll finish episode by episode on season 2, and we'll just do that. And we'll see where things shake out after that. But that's where I've been, everybody. Didn't want to be the curmudgeon. So, hope everything's good on your end. Shit's pretty crazy in Indian country. If you're in the United States. With this whole new presidency, all this stuff going on. And I think I just needed an outlet. I was driving. I've had crazy sinus issues for the past week and a half. And driving home from CVS, I'm just like, I was just bitching to myself about the state of Native representation. And I'm just like, why don't I just make an episode? So here I am. All right, everybody. That's all we're getting today. Peace.